Welcome back to the Balance Sheet, the world's premier podcast about women's wrestling. I am one of your co-hosts, King Ajar,
What's up, everyone? I'm Billy.
and we have a lot to cover this week. And as always, we are brought to you by the Strong Coffee Company. If you want a great, strong cup of coffee, go to www.strongcoffeecompany.com. Use the code BSWomen to get 30% off your first order. Right now, they just got back in stock their world famous peanut butter latte, which always sells out. So I highly recommend it. I had a cup this morning. So, from Strong Coffee Company to weak wrestling shows, that will be our segment this week. And let's start with Monday Night Raw. I had a hard time finding the women's segments because there were none. There
Right.
was no women's matches or segments for the first time, I believe, in maybe 15 years. I mean, it's been a long time where you didn't have a woman, at least promo segment, a woman's match, something behind backstage. Now, I know people are going to listen to this and say, oh, that's not true. Io was there, Liv was there. I'm like, yes, the main event women's match for SummerSlam was stuck in a mid-card men's feud between two never going to be world champions and Danhausen, Joe Hendry, JD McDonough, Dominic Mysterio. Like the top women are basically not with Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins, they're with mid-carders. So it really makes Io and Liv look lesser than because they're with comedy
Yep.
acts. And so this show was an abomination from top to bottom, especially if you like women's wrestling. We don't need to talk about all the men's stuff on the show because I didn't think that was that great either. But I'll give it to you and let you kind of take it away. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. Um, you know, Liv Morgan and Roxanne and Raquel Rodriguez were rubbing elbows in John Cena segments last year, right? So we always vouch for the women kind of having their own space, certainly their own storylines. And if you're going to cross over the top women's title into the men's feuds, I think you nailed it. I mean, you're into the mid card. Um, you're actually lowering the quality of enjoyment of an EO Sky Liv Morgan match with the whole Danhausen curse thing, because it made clear Liv was losing at night, Queen of the Ring. Um, she's still cursed. Um, the whole thing is just stupid. And yeah, they were on screen, but the women had a commercial segment that was not shown in the United States. You know, people who kind of keep up with the show on X maybe don't know this, but that Sol Ruka Lyra Valkyria promo did not hit Netflix in the United States, right? That's during a commercial, um, and it's like a web exclusive for the US. Just no excuse to have people like Roxanne Perez on your Raw roster and not have a match. The best tweet I saw about it was Roxanne is a top tier worker who they do not care about protecting at all. I mean, she's a pin eater. So no offense, but you can always run a Roxanne match because you don't have to worry about protecting her. Anyone can beat her, and it will be a quality match. It's going to be better than all the men's wrestling that was on the show. Um, we're 2 weeks out from SummerSlam. Io and Liv not having their own thing is um, disappointing. The whole Liv Morgan title reign has been extremely disappointing. We haven't had a single title defense. Um, Io looks like she's having fun with Danhausen, but uh, if people think we're coming off critical, if they were booked well around this, I don't think we would care, right? Like if they were having good title reigns in segments, and then they had a Danhausen week. It wouldn't be the end of the world. The problem is as a division, we are no longer getting competition. The belt almost feels meaningless. Liv Morgan was in Queen of the Ring because no one in the division was trying to challenge her. Stephanie Vaquer's out, and they kind of just punted on her having a world title story. And then Becky's out of the picture lately. I said on, I've said on the show a bunch of times. I don't love what Becky's done the last year, but you can tell that Becky shows up to work, has copy, has ideas, goes to the writer's room and says, this is what I want to work. This is what I want to do tonight. I want to promo about Soul, or I want a match or whatever. And I'm not blaming the women. I'm just saying this writer's room is really happy to not give them anything. So push has to come to shove, and they've got to get loud about being featured. It's not their fault, it's the writer's fault. But the way to fix it is they have to get the wheel has to become squeaky. It's really sad because the whole point of the women's evolution and the four horsewomen and all of that was to banish this type of to banish a all men's 2 hour 45-minute raw into the netherworld and to never see it again. And here we are in 2026. The champion's not hurt, you know what I mean? But they're in the mid card with the men's mid card. It's so frustrating. And um Lyra just beat Bayley on Saturday night's main event. Um Women's tag team championships changed hand. I know it went to a SmackDown team, but there's just no follow up from that show. That show had two women's matches. There was no meaningful follow up. It's just bad. The writing's bad. The writing's bad for the men too, but it's non-existent for the women essentially.
Yeah, I think the product is bad.
Yeah,
I read somewhere that if they kept on their pace of ticket sales, this would be the sixth best year ever in the history of WWE. Like, that's how hot they were 2 years ago, where they have steadily declined, but the decline is still one of their best years
from a
ever.
high spot. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's how hot they still kind of are. I mean, they've moved a lot of SummerSlam tickets because of the lower ticket price. So let's talk about the EO Danhausen Live Dom Judgment Day segment. I don't think we need to talk about it on Raw before we need to go to the SummerSlam kickoff show on ESPN2. So they had a ESPN kickoff show where all the matches, the featured matches, got like segments to promo and say, I'm going to beat you or whatever. So Liv comes out with Dom. Liv says, I'm the greatest of all time, does her shtick. Oh, I'm going to beat Io. Io's never beaten me in a singles match. Only reason she beat me is Danhausen cursed me. The crowd's chanting Io, Io, Io. They're like losing it for her. They're chanting for her. They want to see her. And the midgets come out with Danhausen and they curse her and push her and like, curse her again. And it's like, wait, so Io is getting her name called by the crowd, even if Io wasn't supposed to be in the segment, then pivot and bring her out because the crowd's
right.
asking for her. And Io has figured out a way that with American audiences, she can cut a very quick, simple promo, and the crowd loves it, and they kind of feed into her, like what she did with Becky, like what she did with Liv when she says, "You have such a big head." Like the crowd likes that, and they want to cheer for her, but they don't bring Liv out, or sorry, Io. Then on Monday Night Raw, that whole thing was built around Danhausen's curse. That is actually the problem. The problem is if Io had a segment with Liv, Danhausen, Dom, but Sol is defending her title against Roxanne, and Lyra is challenging the winner of that match, and Maxine Dupree is fighting Ivy Nile or whatever. Like there's other women's segments, then I can't complain about it because it's all part of the show. But the only women's representation was a comedy segment with mid card men. That's actually the problem. The problem isn't EO and Danhausen as a team because honestly, that probably would work amazing on house shows, which they are brought back and they're doing house shows again. I think EO and Danhausen would be an awesome house show team. Mixed tag against Liv and Dom where they could do all the shenanigans, the cursing and all that stuff. I think it would work great. But if that's your only representation for the women's championship match, and this should be a blood feud by now, let's look at it. Io beat Liv for the Queen of the Ring, beat her, straight up beat her. Then Io kind of put a knot on her head from that match. Then Liv hit her with the belt and cut her open. We should be at a point where 10 guys are holding each of them back and they should be brawling,
That,
right? And that's what
that's what
yeah.
that was my biggest issue is Io got destroyed last week. She got a knot on her head and a cut from the belt, and then she comes out and curses her with Danhausen instead of wanting to beat her
Well,
ass.
she did beat her ass, but she did beat her up. She did beat Liv up, but
No, 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 I know, but it's the posture of it all.
yeah, she beat her up because Danhausen brought her out after Danhausen got punched in the face. And that's the thing, which is Liv was the central character of this whole match. Liv was pushing Joe Hendry into the post. Liv was beating up Danhausen. But then Danhausen gets Io. Instead of Io just running out on her own after Liv does these things, Io should be the one to say, hey, I'm the good guy, good girl. You're being bad. I'm going to beat you up.
Yeah.
I also would have loved to seen this segment, which they'll never do this with women. But if you're Io, you know you can beat Liv one on one because you've already done it. What she should be trying to do is taking out Roxanne and Raquel. So even if there was a segment where Io with a kendo stick beat both of them up to injure them or to take them out, that would be okay because it's like Io is like, hey, I'm not going to let you guys cost me the title, so I'm going to take you out. But that's the problem is that so they ran one of the shortest episodes of Monday Night Raw ever last night. It was 2 hours and 15 minutes, right? It was
Hmm.
very short. So, Detroit gets the short end of the stick again. Like, how you think their sports
Always.
teams get robbed? They got the short end of the stick of Raw. But, like, here's the problem with the whole writer's room thing. The head writer is a woman. The head writer of Monday Night Raw is a woman. The senior vice president is a woman.
Yeah. So I I don't have any information on her. I don't know what she cares about. I don't know what she thinks is good. But when you watch WWE Unreal, which unfortunately, whether I watch it or not, it's all over the timeline.
Yeah.
It is very clear that the writers for WWE that matter are still Bruce Pritchard, Michael Hayes, Triple H. That's they're the ones that when they have an idea, that's what actually happens, right? Like uh, Michael Hayes, Brock should squash John Cena, Jay should win the Royal Rumble. I mean, these should get you fired, by the way. But that man's got more lives than 10 cats. Um, I, I'm going to say something controversial, and let me set the stage. WWE and Real had Triple H talking to Liv Morgan after her 7-minute title winning match at WrestleMania. And Liv, he says to Liv, the match was fantastic. The finish was fantastic. He's hyping her up. Oh, whatever, I'm not going to argue if he should have liked the match or not. That's not the point of this. He's the boss. If he liked the match, then he liked the match. She said, "Did we did we save some of the time back? So essentially, I think she went out there knowing that the show was running behind, and they ran a 7-minute match. And I'm just gonna say this: I want my women's champion not giving up time on her WrestleMania moment for her and for Stephanie. They've got to fight. I don't care. If they asked Roman Reigns to do his entrance quicker because they were short on time, he'd take twice as long. And I mean that. If he had an 8-minute entrance and they're like, "Hey man, we need you down to the ring in 5," he would take 12. And that's who the women are fighting against, and they've got to put their foot down. And one of my, I'll give Charlotte Flair all the credit in the world. Her and Rhea, she's the one who told Rhea at WrestleMania 38, she's like, or 39, we're staying out here, and they had an all-timer match. I, I was just shocked that the whole world was shocked at a 7-minute match for a women's title match at WrestleMania, and
Yeah.
the fact that one of the performers felt happy about it being a short match for whatever reason. I don't even know where to go with that. I don't know Liv Morgan. I don't know what drives her. I know she loves wrestling. She works her ass off. She bumps like crazy. Like, she's not cutting corners, but I just don't know what to make of that. That's the opposite of everything that's been fought for the last 20 years. It's it so if your lead person is doing that, not your lead, I mean EO, you got Rhea, lives right up there with them. It's like, and Becky Lynch said in an interview recently that she doesn't feel like the girls fight enough for their spot anymore. Her words. I didn't say that. I'm not projecting. She said the quote is, over the last 3 years, about the same four men have main evented every show. And I think us as women probably have to be a little bit louder and more brash in fighting for our spot. That's essentially the quote. And
Okay.
I think that was summed up, like, Raw last night. Truer words couldn't be said. Like, we have to put the glove. We have to get back to fighting. Like, unfortunately, we've lost a lot of ground.
So let's go through the last WrestleManias, right? WrestleMania 39 was Roman Reigns versus who did he main event? Brock,
That
maybe?
was the first Cody match.
Yeah.
Wasn't 39 and then 40
Yeah,
was
yeah,
Cody and
you're right.
Roman?
39. Yeah, Charlotte and Rio was LA, right? Or was it Dallas?
2023.
Charlotte and Rio was 2023 or 2022?
2023. 2022, Charlotte wrestled Ronda. She was supposed to wrestle
Okay,
Sasha.
okay, 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 okay. So 2023, 2024 was Philadelphia, 2023 was Los Angeles, 2025 and 6 were Vegas. Okay, so let's
And
go through.
Dallas was 22. Yeah.
So WrestleMania 39, the night one main event was Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn versus the Usos. Night two main event was Roman and Cody. Okay. Let's go to WrestleMania 40. It was The Rock, it was Seth Rollins, it was Roman Reigns, it was Cody Rhodes. That was the night one main event, and night two was Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. WrestleMania 41, Las Vegas. Night one main event was CM Punk versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. Night two
Hmm.
main event was John Cena versus Cody.
Yep.
WrestleMania 43, night one main event was Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, and night two was CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Okay.
Yep.
So her husband, by the way, is one of the individuals who have main evented multiple WrestleManias, right?
I don't even think she was talking about WrestleMania. I think she meant every show. It's
Oh,
I think she was saying Roman, Cody, Punk,
Seth.
and Seth
Yeah.
are main eventing almost. She said every pay-per-view is main evented by one of really four guys.
So I love Becky. I'm a huge fan. But when her colleague and her other colleague, who she cites as her daughter's one of her three favorite wrestlers, which is Naomi Io Rhea, or no, Rhea, Io Bianca, sorry, didn't like how women's tag team titles were being booked and walked out. She took it upon herself to cut a promo about how unprofessional they were, and also has made slide remarks about, her not, her being professional or not walking out or whatever. So I like Becky and I agree with Becky here, but the message is fine. The messenger I question. Now,
Well, real quick, because I want to hear what you got to say, but
yeah.
I can't help but listen to the clip, and she's literally out loud sounding like she wishes she won't say it, but it's like the person she's describing as she wants in the foxhole with her is Mercedes. Like she's describing, I want people who are gonna, and it's everything that Mercedes is. But go ahead.
Well, again, as I have reported this, they're not exactly
I know
writing
she
sending
doesn't
Christmas
mean,
cards to each other.
yeah.
But back to the whole point here, which we are talking about. Yes, I do think the women as a collective need to do a better job of standing up for themselves. I also think the WWE paints themselves into this bad corner with Liv Morgan. Every time Liv Morgan gets a title, it has to be about a guy. It's Dom. It's the Judgment Day. It's Danhausen. Like Liv Morgan is a gorgeous woman. That's not like really up for discussion. That's just a fact. But because of that, that's what the story always becomes. It's like she's the hot woman who can get any guy, or guys are smitten with her, or whatever. Whereas, like, Liv Morgan is actually somebody who wanted to be a professional wrestler. She grew up watching wrestling. She does care about the business. She does bump her ass off. She is I think, one of the best tag team wrestlers that the WWE has ever had. And she's amazing on the microphone and she can provide a lot more than what they give her to do. And I do think that I know a lot of that Unreal stuff is for cameras, but if I'm Liv Morgan, I'm going right now and I'm saying, listen, man, me and Neo got to get 20 minutes on SummerSlam.
Hmm.
Me and Io got to
Hmm.
get, and Io has to be part of the story too. Like Io has to be there and be like, yeah, I want my 20 minutes because Io gets 20 minutes like that. And the reason I think people want Io to speak up more, and I don't blame them. And they're always like, why is she so happy? And why is she so like smiley all the time? What happened to the killer? What happened to Io Shirai? Well, again, when everybody who mostly listens to our podcast was going goo goo gaga for the four horsewomen, Io was having matches that, in my opinion, were better in Japan in front of 12 people. And she was making probably a bag of chips. So I don't blame Io now, where she's making a lot of money. She is traveling first class. She's buying whatever expensive purse she wants to buy. As Mayu Iwatani told the story, I walked into Io's house. She had $20,000 cash just laying on the floor. So Io is happy as long as her check clears. And that's fine. But that's where, if somebody wants to argue with me, like, hey, I think Mercedes is better, I would look at Mercedes is going to be more willing to fight for the greater good of the women than Io is. And Io might, mechanically be better, but it's like there's more to it at the top spot. So back to Rhea Ripley here. Rhea Ripley is actually the one. Like, she is actually the one who can inspire change. It's not Io, it's not Becky, it's not Charlotte, it's not Alexa, it's not Liv
Not
Morgan,
live.
it's not Jade Cargill. It's Rhea Ripley because I don't care what WWE says. If Rhea Ripley showed up on All Elite Wrestling, the internet would lose its collective mind. If whatever you want to call her, Double R, Ripley's Believe It or Not, it doesn't even matter. If she showed up on AEW, AEW would consistently, I think, draw 1 million viewers because Rhea Ripley does have a fan base that will follow her. They might not do the degree that Mercedes fans do. Are they going to go buy tickets to independent shows and stuff like that? I don't know. I can't say they won't, but Rhea Ripley is enough of a star, especially with men. And this is where the WWE, where she has all the power. I think she is the biggest draw in all of wrestling for men. I think more men watch wrestling for Rhea Ripley than they watch for any other performer. Period. Like I think Rhea Ripley is the biggest draw when it comes to men. Ages 18 to 34, 37, 39. And I've tried to find information on this. Jalen Brunson, NBA Finals MVP, and he's just like Rhea's my favorite, and everybody loves Rhea Ripley, but she doesn't use her power, in my opinion, the way she should use her power. Like she should carry a big stick. Like she should walk around the building like Roman Reigns. Like she should say, "Yeah, I want to walk out for 10 minutes. Like I want to run around the ring. I want to have a 30-minute match." Like Rhea should be that person. Oh, I want a main event. I want a main
My
event.
grandma's from Italy. I want a main event, you know.
Yeah. Like I just think that, and again, I saw somebody tweet this, and I actually sent this to you. I'm not gonna say who the person is because they listen to our show. But they said, hey, if Rhea did this, people would criticize her. Oh, see, Jade is right. She just runs to the office. Yes, but they wouldn't criticize her because they would say she's running to the office for the greater good. It's one
Right.
thing to run to the office because you got into a tete-a-tete on Twitter and you didn't like the way it went in your favor. It's another thing to stand up for the whole locker room and say, hey, I'm Rhea Ripley. I am a draw. I sell a lot of merch. Like Cody Rhodes goes on his podcast and says, yeah, Rhea Ripley outsells me in merch. And Rhea hears this and never says, I got the power. So I hope Rhea is politicking right now, me and Io on a main event WrestleMania. What are
I
you?
I want yeah, I want to be clear on something because I have had someone tell me, you don't want to blame you don't want to blame them. The office should know better at this point. Unfortunately, we said this like 6 months ago too. The men are in a hyper politicking phase right now. And they're not even necessarily politicking to push the women down. They're Punk, Cody, and Roman are so hyper politicking around each other at this point, positioning for their spot, that it's essentially turning into first, second, and third place is one of them every time. And the women are just going out there doing great work, having a happy locker room, getting along with each other, and being better, product than the men a lot of the time. But unfortunately, you got squeaky wheel one, squeaky wheel two, squeaky wheel three. And I'm not exonerating the writers either, but this is just the environment that exists right now under TKO. So for the women to get in there, it's got to be squeaky wheel four. And you nailed it. I love Becky. I love Io. I love Liv. They're going to have trouble getting everyone's attention in a CM Punk, Cody, Roman Reigns politicking match. Rhea could stand just as tall with the three of them, and that's her power. And actually, she inherited a women's division that was at its in an era of um a prominent era, right? So you had the horsewomen who then handed off to like Bianca, and Bianca and horsewomen overlapped with Bianca Becky, Bianca Damage Control, and then we ended up in this environment where Becky left for a year and Charlotte was hurt. And then it became Rhea and Bianca's division and Io's division. It like overnight became those three, and things were good. So you could almost say, well, she inherited something, so she didn't really build it. If she wants to be a trailblazer, there's actually something for her to fix now because it is certainly bottomed out. We've lost a lot of the stature that we had from the years of the horsewomen
Well, let's
fighting
let's
for
not.
more.
I
And so
think
she needs to be the one to raise it back up.
so. Everybody's gonna go back to like I heard people talk about 2017, 2018. Oh, okay. I went back and I looked. How many matches do you think from 2018 or sorry, from 2018 and 2019 on pay-per-view were longer than Asuka and Io? And the answer is there's just one. There's just
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's my issue. Last year, forget about, 10 years ago, 7 years ago, 5 years ago. Last year, we had an all women's pay-per-view. We had, by the men's own admission, the best match at WrestleMania were the three women, by the men's own admission. It wasn't like, us saying it. It was CM Punk saying it. It was Seth Rollins saying it. It was Roman Reigns. Well, Roman Reigns, nobody's good according to Reigns, but every other male superstar said the women killed it. Undertaker said it. Michael said it. Okay.
Yeah,
You had Io versus Stephanie Vakor pretty much saving WrestlePalooza because that, show wasn't good. And then the other part of WrestlePalooza that I thought was watchable was Becky, AJ, Punk, Seth, which that's how you use main event women, which is you put them with main event guys. I don't care if Io's teaming up with CM Punk, I'm fine with that. Like when him, Rhea, and Io teamed up on a house show, that's fine. That's who Io belongs with, not Danhausen. But last year, I thought the women were booked very well. Let's look. Bianca won the Elimination Chamber with Jade returning. That was unbelievable, right?
right.
We believe that Naomi and Jay got the first ever singles match at Mania that didn't have a title that led to a really good feud. I mean, one of the best segments in the history of WWE
Yeah,
is like last year was a really good WWE women's year. It was.
it was one of the best, but this
So,
doesn't feel like a blip on the radar though. This feels like a different culture set in that has to be fought
right,
back
right.
on.
It does. It does. It feels like something changed. Like it's almost like when they went to Saudi Arabia and they did the Women's Royal Rumble there, and then you kind of started to see seeds of it where like the tag champs are not defending the titles, but they're in the Royal Rumble. Stephanie Vakor is champ, but she's never defending the belt. Liv Morgan is the champ, doesn't defend the belt. Jade Cargill doesn't defend the belt. Like you're seeing symptoms of a poison that they need to get out of there. But here's the thing. I actually went back and I tracked this for our show. Since Alexandria, who is the head writer, the senior VP of Raw, the women have gotten less time. So I'm all for, I want women to get opportunities that they deserve, but then I have to call a spade a spade. The product has sucked since she has taken over as the head writer. So, we complained about Road Dogg. Well, maybe Road Dogg wasn't the problem. Like maybe the problem is the three men you named, men, Triple H, Michael Hayes, Bruce Pritchard. Maybe it's their time to old yellow and go out and be taken out to pasture because I think the show needs fresh ideas. I think it needs fresh perspective. Like even when they steal our idea, they don't do it correctly, right? Like
The ladder match, right? Yeah,
right.
go ahead.
Yeah. We said, hey, Rhea can't wrestle. We reported that. She has a torn meniscus. She confirmed it. Do a ladder match. And then you said, well, do they even have the women on the roster to do? I'm like, of course they do. They have JC Jane and they have Julia and they have Tiffany and they have Kiana James and they have Jordan Grace and they have Blake Monroe. And
And then I was like, Meechin and BFAB, yeah.
they're like, no, 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 no. We like the idea, but we're going to do it our way. Tiffany, the US champion, let's put you in the match. Yes, you're from Minneapolis, but why can't she have a match against Blake Monroe? Nope, let's put her in the ladder match. Jade and Charlotte have a feud people actually care about. Legitimately, that's a match people want to see. Nah, we're not going to do that. We're going to put them in a ladder match. Charlotte's going to make it next week. So now we know Charlotte and Jade are going to be in the ladder match. Neither of them are probably going to win. We know Tiffany is not going to win. I think Alexa will be the other person in the match. And I think the last person who enters is the champion. So Jade, Alexa, Charlotte, Tiffany, none of them are going to win the title. The person who's number five, that's your champion. Blake Monroe, Julia. I mean,
They
the
could go any
WWE.
route because they're doing interim for the first. I can't remember them ever doing an interim champion, but they've
Well,
essentially said Rhea just gets to come back and she's
so
champ and they'll do a unification, I guess.
here's my fear about this interim champion. And we'll get to the our favorite hugger in a sec. So Io is fighting Liv. According to Bet Online Sports, Io's gonna lose. She is an underdog. She is a plus 165. Liv is
She's
a
on all the Money in the Bank posters, like very
yeah.
prominent for that match.
No, she is. She's on the Money in the Bank poster. That could be like
Red
a
herring, I know.
yeah. But I'm gonna go a step further. What if Liv beats Io night one? And Io is the mystery person in the ladder match and wins the title. And instead of WWE waiting and trying to market a match people legitimately want to pay money for, interim Io fights Rhea for the title. Like that would be the dumb WWE thing
How would
right
they have four people qualify in matches and then have a mystery person, though? You know what I mean? That's the part that's tough.
now. Didn't
They don't care. Not that they
Brock
care.
Lesnar do that once?
Yeah, not that doesn't mean it was good, right?
No,
So
but I'm saying they could do stuff like that because that's what they do.
that's what they do. So before we get to Bayley, 2025 was so good that we got caught flat-footed. And we got a little fat and happy as a women's wrestling fandom. We didn't even fight for Evolution back-to-back years. Has there
No,
ever been more proof of a here damn? Here's your effing show, because they didn't even talk about, they wouldn't even buzzed about having this here. The women have still just main evented two pay-per-views in the last 5 years.
yeah,
Rhea in Australia, and then
yeah.
Evolution, which kind of doesn't really count if we're being honest.
It doesn't count. What counts is the women who main event Evolution, the company is telling you they're their faces. But a
Right.
women's match has to main event the show. So
Right.
it's kind of inconsequential. Here's my thing. I think we are going to get Evolution 2 this year. And I'm going to tell you why. Because all the online murmur, remember, last year, this is exactly what happened. Io wins the title, everybody's on cloud nine. Then she doesn't defend the title, doesn't defend the title, doesn't defend the title. People get mad. Oh, give them Evolution. Everybody's happy. The card was great. It was one of the best shows they've ever done. It was unbelievable. And then from that point on, we got Naomi's cash in. We got the triple threat at SummerSlam. We got Io, Stephanie Vacour. Like we got a lot of stuff after, right? We got Rio and the Kabuki Warriors. Like we got a lot of good stuff. I think they're going to give us Evolution 2, and I tell you exactly when it's going to happen. It's going to happen half after Money in the Bank, before Survivor Series. That's my prediction.
I would be for it, but what I'd be the most for is women main eventing shows with men on it. So
Yeah.
we um we broke some news, you broke some news last week, and it's not so much like, it's not like the Rhea news with the injury, but it's confirmation, right? We all, hey, what's going on with Bayley? That's been out there. You were able to confirm that she has not re-signed.
Yeah.
You were able to confirm that her heart, is in WWE, but her brain and her business sense is probably what's pulling her elsewhere. Maybe some of the desire to do something different and more. And so, at the very minimum, what you reported last week was she's not re-signed and she's waiting to make a decision. And it looks like she's going to test free agency. So we had some people, Monet updates. He always clips the show. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Um, I saw some people retweet the clip of you breaking that news and saying, "Hey, this is not news. Everyone knows that." It is news, and here's why. WWE, even pre TKO, has always pressured their wrestlers to re-sign early. They don't want you actually in free agency. If they want you in free agency, they don't really want you, right? That those are the people that they're willing to release. But if they want you, if you actually have leverage, they want you to let go of your leverage essentially and re-sign 6 months to a year early. And the reason why it's news with Bayley is because almost everybody's done that. The men certainly have. I can't remember the last. I think Drew was coming up off free agency. He re-signed. Kevin Owens re-signed. Sami Zayn re-signed. Alexa and Becky did re-sign last minute or after, but Alexa was last minute, Becky was after, but we don't have any reporting that Becky actually negotiated with AEW. Whereas you're able to confirm that Bayley's absolutely, if she's going to get into free agency, she's going to see what's out there for her. So her just letting the clock expire is news. And we have to reiterate that because TKO, even more so than WWE, wants people to resign early. Um, you equated it to the NFL when you and I were talking earlier. It's like you have a guy on a rookie deal who's been a, a great draft pick. You don't wait till his fifth year's up. You resign him before year four, year five, and you give him a big deal at the end of it. That way you're ahead of the market. So I'm going to pass it to you here in a second. We advocate for people getting their highest value. So we love that Bayley's doing this. We're not even saying go to AEW as a show. We're saying get every penny you can. It helps the other women and it helps you. And the best way to do that is to get to free agency. Fightful has reported some additional information about, could there be clauses and things like that that she could negotiate for. You have some additional information this week that you were able to find out regarding that whole situation with Bayley.
Yeah, before I get to that, there's a couple of things I want to point out. And I did see people retweet our clip and say, hey, this isn't news. Well, you know why I know it's news? Because exactly what we reported, Fightful put behind a paywall. If it wasn't news, they would just give it away for free. But it was news, right? They took exactly what we said and they added to it, but it was dead on to our report. So the person I really wanted to test this theory was Rhea Ripley, right? Like Rhea Ripley had a deal come up and she signed a year before her deal came up for I mean she's making a lot of money, I know, but it would have been
WWE was
nice.
at its hottest. Yeah,
It
yeah.
would have been nice if Rhea Ripley said, "Ah, just wait till the clock expires and see what the other guy has." Like, I know this for a fact. Io signed in 2022. She signed a 5-year deal, and around 2024, around the time she had the feud with Bayley, they ripped up her deal and gave her a new contract, and she was fine with it. But let's talk about Bayley. So, what I am reporting is that they approached Bayley before the start of the Lyra feud, or kind of when they know the Lyra feud was coming with her. And they said, "Look, are you gonna resign?" And she says, I might not, I don't know. But I'm gonna let myself think about it and I'm gonna see what's out there for me and see what I want to do because this is gonna be my last big contract. I gotta really think about what I want. Is it this? Is it that? So I'm not gonna be rushed into it. Smart for her. So WWE said, okay, great. We're gonna write you off TV. And if you come back and you resign, you'll be back in a prominent spot. If you decide you don't want to resign, it's kind of your send off, right? Like it's your send off, and it's in Madison Square Garden, so what a better venue to be a send off for? And so I am gonna tell everybody, do not expect Bayley on TV for a while, right? If Bayley comes back to TV, she is resigned. That's what I can tell you. Like if she comes back in a month, she's resigned.
If she attacks Lyra at SummerSlam, that means she's resigned.
Yes. I think yeah. So to me, that is the story. The other part of the story, like I saw the report about no cut clause, guaranteed money. Okay, I love Bayley. She's great. She doesn't have that kind of juice. Like the WWE isn't going to change its business structure for Bayley. Rhea Ripley, maybe. Bayley, no. Io, no. Becky, I don't think so anymore. Charlotte, I don't think so. Like they'll pay them. They'll pay them well, but they're going to do business their way.
If they gave Bayley a no cut
Yeah.
clause or guaranteed money, they would have to be ready to give the same type of contract to at least 10 women, if not 15, and probably 20 men.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against Bayley. That's the type of clause that really a top three name who's also nearish prime, probably can, like, I don't know that CM Punk could get that. They'd probably be like, "We're glad you came back for a good run. See you later," right?
He's
Roman, could
50.
Roman get it? Yes, Roman could get it if he really wanted it, but they're not going to cut Roman, so why does he have to? He doesn't even have to negotiate for that.
Yeah, like Roman Reigns isn't worried about, when the WWE does its releases, he's not looking at the phone like, "Oh,
So if
TKO."
you're worried that they might wake up one day and cut you, you're probably not prominent enough to get a no cut clause. So it's a chicken and the egg, right? And I'm not trying to disrespect Bayley at all. This is a company that stomped out unionization, and like they're just not changing that contract right now, like
This
to
is
that
this
level.
this is a company that once upon a time cut Bray Wyatt at the peak of his powers, right? Because of for whatever reason. Then they re-signed him, unfortunately he passed away. But here's my thing with Bayley, and I am people are going to be shocked by this take from me. Normally on this show, you don't outright say you want Bayley in AEW, but you kind of say it without actually saying it. I'm going to actually say it. I do want Bayley to leave. I do want Bayley to go to AEW. Why? Because I tweeted out about like if it was a cool, wouldn't it be cool if TKO and Tony Khan did trades? Like, hey, I'm not using Britt Baker. I'm not using whoever. I'll give them to you for Bayley or whatever, right? Like it'd be cool. Here's why I'm saying Bayley should go to AEW. Not because, oh, she can join her best friend and they can rekindle something that happened in 2015. No. From everything I've ever read about Pamela Martinez, she's a little girl who loved professional wrestling when it wasn't cool. She went to autograph signings in the Bay Area, whether it's Jeff Hardy, John Cena. You've already seen the pictures. I don't see Bayley as somebody who is looking at the current construct of WWE women's wrestling and how they are presented on TV, where they don't get segments, they're not getting promo time, they're not getting real stories, they're not getting character arcs. I don't see Bayley saying, "Yeah, this is the place I want to spend the last contract of my career." So I am telling Bayley, if Bayley listens to this podcast, I would love that to know that Bayley should go to AEW. And you know what? If I were Bayley, I would tell WWE right now, I'm leaving. You know why? Because you said this in our text thread that because of how they're looking at their stock price, they might just say, "Go. We don't want to pay you the rest of your, we'll just cut you now. We'll let you go.
Yeah.
Not re-signing. We don't have to pay you for the until December. Um, the 90-day clause starts now." Because if if I'm Bayley, I don't care. The Mercedes thing, everybody's gonna make a big deal about that. I'm looking at Chris Statlander, Megan Bayne, Maya World, another Athena match, Sheeta, um, Harley Cameron, Tay Mello, possibly what's her name?
Lean across.
Nina Cross. No, the one who did Mina Shirakawa, Tony Storm when
Yeah.
she returns, right? Tekla,
Tekla.
like Tekla, right? Willow. How did I forget Willow, right? Like the Spider-Man meme come to life, right? Bailey
Right.
and Willow. I think that she should go to AEW because what else does she have left to do in WWE? The only thing is the main event of WrestleMania. And Bayley is much smarter than me when it comes to professional wrestling. She ain't main eventing WrestleMania with Roman Reigns on the roster and CM Punk on the roster. And Seth Rollins on the roster and Cody Rhodes on the roster. And now, Obafemi's on the roster. And, Braun Breaker is going to get his main event chance. Like, there's too many men in the pipeline, and she's not Rhea Ripley. And unless
Yeah.
she gets
So
a feud with Rhea Ripley, she's not main eventing WrestleMania.
right, and well, and the other thing, and Bailey was on the Bella's podcast with Paige and AJ Lee, and they said, essentially they said, "We'd like to fight the four horsewomen. Who's going to replace Sasha Banks?" And she said, "No one can replace Sasha Banks," because of course she did, because no one can replace Sasha Banks. But that got me thinking, Nostalgia is a hell of a drug.
Hmm.
And for 4 generations of women in WWE, Mercedes Moné is the most important wrestler in the world. Hear me out real quick. The generation 2 generations before the horsewomen. So that's Trish, Lita, Beth Phoenix, although Beth Phoenix is in AEW. What's the biggest Trish match in the world? Mercedes, because she already had all the other ones. What'd you
Oh,
say?
you're saying of a match that hasn't happened.
What's her bet? If she wanted the biggest match she could have that hasn't happened is Mercedes.
Rhea Ripley. Rhea
I
Ripley.
don't think anyone wants to see her wrestle Rhea Ripley because she wouldn't be seen as a threat. Too big of a gap, I
But
think,
that
on age.
would that be a bigger draw?
I don't I don't know that it has the same cachet because they have zero history, right?
Okay.
So just hear me out real quick. The Bellas, AJ and Paige, they all want that. They got 4. They want the horsewomen deal. The
Hmm.
most prominent match that Becky, Charlotte, and Mercedes and Bayley could have, their best chance at a WrestleMania main event would be for Sasha to come back, and they have the 4-way match that could main event night 1 of Mania for sure. And then when you get past them, those generations, then like Rhea doesn't need Mercedes to come back. Io doesn't need Mercedes to come back. But for those other generations, because Mercedes is kind of the youngest of that other group, she's like the skeleton key to unlock the full nostalgia to get those feuds fully into a spotlight, to make them real front of page news, right? We have a real horsewomen versus whatever you want to call the other 4, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. It's not happening on, I don't think anyone believes it's happening on this next contract. Um, I do want Bayley to go to AEW. I think the division, the way that TKO sees it, has passed her by. I think she's the best wrestler. The match with her and Lyra was very good. Her tag wrestling with Lyra has been incredible. She's in phenomenal shape. I know she's smarter in the ring than she's ever been. I think she's as good as she's ever been. She's not past her prime in any way, shape, or form. But I don't think that there are at least 10 women that they firmly see as more important than her. And that's harsh. I think they're wrong. I would still feature her at the top because the quality would be better. But right now, Nick Aldis and Danhausen are going to have more singles matches on prominent show on PLEs over the last 2 years than she has after SummerSlam. True.
So do you? Well, I'm trying to think. I'm off the top of my head. I'm trying to think. When's the
Her last one did she had a Nia PLE match, right? Was that SummerSlam 2 years
SummerSlam
ago?
2 years ago? Yeah, SummerSlam two
That
years
was her
ago.
that was her last PLE singles one-on-one match, I believe.
So do you
Was
think
there a triple threat for the Intercontinental title was on what show?
Evolution
Evolution.
with Becky and Lyra, and that's so? Do you think not like if Rhea, Io, and Bianca had their triple threat match at WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and the Royal Rumble? I'm not they would, but if they did, I don't think like to me, I thought Bayley was featured very well up until her and Lyra started to get like as a team. Like I just thought that that whole thing never told a cohesive story. Lyra and Bayley lost every match basically, but I
She
didn't I
was
know
she was left off the Mania right after the year she had the prominent match though. So I mean this has been going on for a while.
which oh the one where Becky injured her, quote unquote.
Yeah, she was left
Yeah,
off
yeah,
of
yeah,
41. Yeah.
yeah. That was I don't even know what to say about that because it's like
We never got a payoff. They never won the
yeah,
titles,
because
her and
well, no,
Lyra.
Bailey never won. Like, if the payoff was okay, she injures Bailey. Bailey ends up winning the Intercontinental title from Becky. Then that's the payoff, right? Like that would make
Yeah.
she didn't get the payoff, right? Like, there's no payoff, right?
Did
Because
she
Bailey
even get it?
lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bailey got a match against Becky on a Raw. and lost.
Yeah. Yeah. So real quick, because you mentioned something. Uh, we like to talk business on the show. Both of us have a background, companies we work for, and understanding profitability and operating income and profits. Um, when people are really dogging WWE, you're very quick to point out, I think, $478 million in a quarter is what they made, right?
Mm.
So let me be very, very clear. As a profitable company, they are nowhere close to being in danger. They're not even, if danger is a state, it is many states away. They're not even neighboring danger as far as profits go. However, as a publicly traded company, there's this dastardly thing in capitalism where to create value for your shareholders, you're supposed to try to beat last year's quarter every freaking year. You have to. So if you had a $478 million Q2 last year, you have to put out a plan to beat that, and you have to come in and say, we're going to make $481 million or $492 million or whatever it is, but it has to be more than 478. And if you miss your number, your stock price is usually going to tumble a little bit. So what companies do is they get to the end of the quarter, they see how close they are, and if they're not close, what happens? They cut expenses to get under the number.
To get their, yeah, because they want to get their contribution margin or gross margin or profit margin, whatever finance term you want to use. They want to at least say, okay, I didn't hit my revenue number, but I hit my margin number, right? So they'll do whatever they need to do to make the bottom line number look, um, the way it needs to look. And I will speak to what you're talking about from a personal level. So, at the earlier this year, at the beginning of this year, I made a career change. I left the job I was at for 8 years. I was doing very well in life. The money was good. I worked from home. I made my own schedule. Like I was done work by 3 o'clock my time every day because I had all East Coast accounts and life was grand for me. But what wasn't grand is the company that I worked for at the time was purchased by private equity. And when they were purchased by private equity, everything became about the stock price. Everything became about P&E. Everything became about margin. Everything became to the point we got the most ridiculous ideas from the higher ups who have never actually run the business that they bought, but they want to give me and my peers suggestions. So, I took an interview with a company here in El Paso, founded here in 1989 and they've been in business for 36 years. And the reason I wanted the job so badly, I remember I was interviewing with he's now my friend, but at the time he was interviewing me, and he's like, "Yeah, we have no debt and we have no private equity." I'm like, "Okay, all right, let's
Yeah.
go. Well, what do I need to do to sell you on me?" Because I tell my owner of this company every time we have a one-on-one, I said, "Sir, if you ever sell this company to private equity, I might go." Like it might be it for me. Because what I love about what I do now is I answer to four people who are the four owners, but they have no debt and they're not pressured. So again, we talk women's wrestling, but a quick business story. So when I first started, I remember I messaged you, I said, "Hey, I closed some of these deals." And one of the because I'm in operations, but they still have me on like the sales team. So one of the deals that I closed was a really bad deal. Like it was not a good deal, but it's like one of those things like, "Hey, you want the logo? You want the logo?" And the owner said, "Well, Raja, I want you to make the decision." And I said, "What do you mean, sir?" Like he goes, "No, no, no. Like you say yes or no. Like you've shown me the deal, but I want you to make the decision because look at the deal. Take your time over the weekend, come back into my office Monday and tell me." So I looked at the deal, studied over the weekend, pros and cons, made my list. And I came to his office and said, "Yeah, it's a bad deal. Let's not take it." He goes, "That's what I hoped you'd say." He goes, "You have to understand because we don't have private equity pressure, I don't have to take bad deals. I don't have to take bad deals just to make a number." Okay, we didn't get this 10 million. Who cares? Because the margin on it, the contract terms, the company itself is shaky. Are they going to pay our invoices? Like you know this, you deal with all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? Invoice. So what where I'm going with this, or where we were going as a duo here, is that TKO is far from in trouble. WWE isn't far from in trouble. They only spend 15 to 17% of their revenues on contracts. So they're minting money hand over fist. They make so much money, they don't even know what to do with it. But the streets are real in the sense that the product is not as good. The product is declining. The ticket sales are declining. That's why SummerSlam, if you use the code JJets for Justin Jefferson, you can get it for 25 bucks. Because they know they went too far with their ticket prices. And on top of that, their product isn't hot anymore. It's not the bloodline. It's not cinema. People aren't that interested in their product the way they were 2 years ago. They're cold.
Right.
So when you're cold, and even last year, I thought they were kind of declining, but the women were hot. So I don't think we noticed how cold the other stuff was because the women were hot. I
And they
believe,
had the Cena retirement that they were leaning on.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Cena retirement and the women last year really masked the WWE's problems. But now the women are ice cold. Cena's gone. Reigns, for all of his, you know, theater, is not the draw, in my opinion, he was 2 years ago because his story is identical to what it was 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
It's a math problem. They get a certain amount of attendance at a SummerSlam at a certain ticket price, and this year, less people at lower prices. They have to find a way to comp that number and try to get ahead. And unfortunately, that's why we get releases. They got a wrestler that makes $1 million a year. They've paid him for Q1 and Q2. They take him off the books. They're allowed to save $500,000 in Q3 and Q4, 250 each, and that's bookkeeping to try to get ahead of their numbers. So it's a problem of their own creation, right? They're the ones who raise ticket prices too high. Um, there's different ways to grow business in the world. You could steady growth and try to be good for 10 straight years, or you could try to grab every dollar that's on the floor while you're hot.
yeah,
They grabbed every dollar that was on the floor while they were hot. And um we are not advocating for release like this is just the way of life.
yeah.
And so at some point they are going to lose good talent because of the bookkeeping that they're going to have to do. And I'm not saying it will be Bayley, but they are going to lose people that they don't want to lose because of this math problem that they have upcoming.
Yeah, and the thing about the SummerSlam, last year they had Cena, right? They had
Right.
Cena, and he drew a lot of money for them. And also it was in a hot market. It was New York City, right? So running 2 nights in New York City when you have 11 million people compared to Minneapolis, where you do not have 11 million people, is difficult, right? Minneapolis is not an easy city to get flights to. Minneapolis is not an easy city to travel to. It's not New York City, right? They don't have a ton of hotels. I just think that the WWE got a little cute for themselves, which was we're so hot, we take our fans for granted. And that's what they've actually done. They've taken all of us for granted. And us as women's wrestling fans, and this is more of a passionate plea, and we're gonna get to AEW right now. I know there is a lot of people who listen to our show who are WWE lifers. It's like, yeah, WWE,
As
WWE.
was
And
I.
I started liking professional wrestling because of WWE because it was this was the territory days still when I started watching wrestling. And even though the WWE just went national, Toronto was a WWE territory, but it used to be an NWA territory, and Flair and Steamboat would come up. Jack Tunney owned the Toronto territory. Everybody knows who that name is if you watch 80s wrestling. He was the president. But he was actually the owner of Maple Leaf Territory, and he sold to Vince McMahon, and he got the job because of it. And where I'm going with this is that when wrestling has been at its absolute best, professional wrestling, it's been when there's a healthy number two that is pushing number one to be better. If we go back through the history, 1984, 1985, WWE's hitting all cylinders with rock and wrestling, Hulk Hogan, Cyndi Lauper, Roddy Piper. But what was NWA doing? They had the Four Horsemen. And the Four Horsemen in Philadelphia outdrew Hulk Hogan in the same city on the same day. They outdrew him because they were healthy and they were a strong number two. Let's go to the 90s. Nitro. When Nitro caught fire, that's when wrestling became good. That's when you got Austin 316. That's when you got The Rock. That's when you got Undertaker, Mankind, Mick Foley, Mr. McMahon, because they needed to step up their game. Let's go to like when AEW first started. Do you remember how bad WWE was when AEW first started? It was awful,
Hmm.
right? But then WWE picked up their game because AEW was coming and they were closing the gap and WWE had to step up. And I know we are not big Triple H fans as a booker on the show. I don't think we're big fans of him as a wrestler either. But I will give him credit. He had the two best years of WWE ever, maybe, in terms of creative. Like what he did with the bloodline, the women, everything was hot for 2 years, right? But he's cold now. My point is, we as wrestling fans should all not only want AEW to succeed, I would like AEW, even if it's for 6 months, to pass WWE. I want the AEW for 6 months to be a hotter show and have better ratings. I do because it will only force WWE to step it up. And the EO
And
Skies
listen to their fans.
and the Rhea Ripleys and the Liv Morgans and the Stephanie Vacours and the Julias, they will all benefit from it because when the other person is killing it, WWE usually picks up their game. So that's my I implore all of the people who listen to the show. If you don't like AEW, I'm not telling you to go buy a ticket or spend money on the product, but at least watch it. Because honestly, they're doing some damn good things with the women, which let's get to AEW right now.
Yeah, it's funny is, we've been doing the show for over 2 years. I don't know that we've had very many months overlapped where the AEW women have been booked really, really well, and then the WWE women have been booked really, really well at the same time. We've certainly had weekends because like Evolution and All In were like the same weekend, right? So, we've certainly had weekends where it's been going good on both sides, but I guess it's AEW's turn for the baton right now because since Mercedes came back, their women's tournament was very good, right? We
Mhm.
didn't love the Queen of the Ring tournament, but the Owen Hart Foundation tournament was very, very good. Um, you had the Hazuki match with Mercedes. You had Athena Maya World. You had Maya World Mercedes. That was very good. They have one of the greatest women's tag teams. If you don't watch, Divine Dominion, Megan Bayne and Lena Cross, one of the greatest women's tag teams of all time. I think we could already say that. They have that look, they have that feel of like one of the dominant women men's tag team. They have a very Legion of Doom Demolition vibe to me. The aura of like just as a unit together, they're just there to kick ass. They're being they were not being booked great. They were doing like 5 minute challenge things a couple months ago, but it's starting to get better there. Sita won the TBS title. So there's a lot of things going on the AEW side. And then the cherry on top or the main course on all of that is we've got kind of three women embroiled in, this feud that's going to go to All In. Tekla and Willow, they're about to wrestle on Sunday at Redemption, one on one for the AEW Women's Championship. We're going to talk about who we think's going to win. The winner of that match will go on to All In to face Mercedes, the shot she won with the Owen Hart Cup win. So I say all that to say that we have 2 straight months of a. Would you agree with this? We an effectively booked women's main card, the main title, an effectively booked tag title. The division could use some work. They're not booking well tag around it, but the champions are at least booked well. And then now the mid card title is back in place after it was vacated. So you've got all three kind of working. Sheeta just had a match against Queen Aminata. She's got a title defense coming up at Redemption, which we'll talk about too, against Maya World. So all cylinders. They're here in Nashville tomorrow. I will not be going. I have a 3 month old. And if Mercedes was wrestling, I might call in that favor to my wife. Uh, buy a purse or something that would get me at that show. But no, the right thing to do is to stay home. But Megan Bayne, Lena Cross, Divine Dominion will be wrestling Sky Blue and Julia Hart in a no DQ street fight, correct? For the tag titles?
Yeah, it's like a hardcore street fight, Nashville street fight, something, some name like that. I think AEW, this is the best AEW's women's division has been in my career or life of watching AEW. Like,
I
I'm
agree.
trying to think of when the overall division was booked better. I can't think of it. They're firing on all cylinders. Let me start with Divine Dominion. I agree that they are one of the best looking teams of all time. Like they look like a tag team. They suit each other. They're you're saying Demolition Legion of Doom. I'm going because I feel like Demolition Legion of Doom had the face paint. I get the aura part. I'm gonna take it to Japan because I know Megan Bane's big in Japan. They love her in Japan. I'm gonna go Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody. That's the
That
vibe.
one works.
That
That plays. Yeah, that plays.
they give me that vibe of Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody. And my only thing with Divine Dominion is I think they're phenomenal. I want to see them have phenomenal tag team matches. I don't. They're I like I you know it's funny. I was preparing for the show and I'm like I know we're going to talk about Divine Dominion. I know Billy thinks they're one of the best tag teams of all time, and I'm like, what is their signature match? Like I know with the Golden Role Models, they have the match with the Kabuki Warriors, and I know that Rio has the match with the Kabuki Warriors or Liv and Raquel. Like the teams I think about, the Japan teams, they have a signature tag match, like Triple Tails, which is Mayu Io. I watched a match against Miko Satomura and Kari saying that's just a 17-star match. What is the Divine Dominion match that you would tell me to go watch that's the signature match of their career so far?
Well, so they wrestle as a tag team on the Indies over the last couple years together. But in AEW, they had a really good match against Maya World and Heian.
I remember that. Yeah.
Um, that was a good match. Obviously, the trios match with the same four women plus add Willow on the good guy side and Mercedes on the bad guy side. Um, last week was a really, really good match. I agree with you. It's more of a projection at this point. Their greatest match ever is coming up. It's
Yeah.
going to be at All In. They are on a collision course with the Brawling Birds.
Yeah.
It's going to be Alex Windsor and Jamie Hayter, both from the United Kingdom, versus Megan Bayne and Lena Cross. And presumably that's the all in match. That should be a 20-minute barn burner because that's probably going to be one of the best matches for near falls on the card because it will totally be believable that Divine Dominion wins that match, but presumably Brawling Birds are gonna, both girls or both women are hometown, so I think that could end up being one of the greatest women's tag matches of all time. All four women are powerhouses. Um, there's a lot of good chemistry among the four of them. They could all work. So I get your point. They don't have that yet. Um, it's more of what they bring to the show at this point so far. Um, they both have a lot of good singles stuff. It's just as a team, they were being booked poorly at the beginning, where they were being booked like Jade Cargill gets booked, right? Just beat people in 5 minutes, don't have a match, just crush people. But Tony's gone away from that over the last month or so.
Like, I believe in the Divine Dominion is the presentation, the ring capability to be one of the best tag teams of all time. But I also think that they don't have too many tag teams to fight to get that. Like, they're not like Toyota and Yamada had, Kong and Nakano to fight. Like who it could be the Birds, right? It could be that that's their opponent, right? And the Birds and them
Right.
have a great match. But I love Divine Dominion. The Maya World getting the TBS title shot is interesting because Is Tony basically saying he made a mistake and didn't give her the Owen Hart?
No, I think she's gonna lose.
Oh, you do. You don't think she's gonna win?
I don't think she's gonna win.
Oh, okay. Well, we have to make our
No.
predictions.
Yeah, so me and you kind of were texting about this. Kairi Sane has won 12 singles matches in WWE since 2019.
Hmm.
Io Sky's won 88. Hikaru Shida has won 104 matches in AEW since 2019. So what I was saying was, if people are worried that Tony doesn't book Joshi's very well, and he hasn't booked Mina's like his Roxanne Perez, right? She's just eating pins. Yuka Sakazaki's not used enough. So there are complaints, but Sheeta's his best one in his eyes, and he's booked her as well. I mean, she's got a year-long title reign. You could argue she's booked as well or better than Io Sky. She's not better than, I'm not saying she's better than Io Sky. I don't believe that at all. I'm saying her booking has been strong. She's a three-time world champion, the longest reigning AEW women's champion ever, and now she's the second woman ever to hold both the AEW Women's Championship and the TBS belt behind Chris Statlander. So Tony's booked her well. I don't see him taking the belt off of her yet. I think this is more putting the spotlight on Maya as the next big thing. I think Maya's big win is going to be over Athena for the ROH title. Is it Death Before Dishonor that's coming up?
Yeah.
That's where I think it is.
I I wouldn't even put I don't know, it's hard to explain this. Like I don't even want to compare Io and Sheeta. Like I just think Io is in a galaxy onto herself and Sheeta is just Sheeta. Like for
The point I'm making, like if he had Kyrie instead of Sheeta, Kyrie would have been booked like Sheeta. If he had Io instead of Sheeta, Io would have been booked maybe even better than Sheeta. The idea, both WWE and AEW, essentially WWE's picked two Japanese women that they're willing to book well, and truthfully, Asuka's not been booked well in years. And AEW's got the one, so it's almost like they have one at a time that they book well.
yeah.
Um, I think Kyrie will be booked well in AEW if she comes over, was the point I was making. Because Sheeta is over the since 2019, there are not 10 women in all of the world who have been booked better than Hikaru Shida. I'm not talking about ability, I'm not talking about match quality, I'm talking about booking. There are not 10 women since 2019 that have been booked better than Hikaru Shida.
I can't even like what is is Sheeta the one who had the match with Britt Baker?
She has my favorite non-Mercedes AEW women's match. Chris Willow is one, but she's got a really fantastic match on the Christmas show with Jamie Hayter.
So you
That
like
has some
match better than Mariah May Tony?
I do. I don't like Plunder, I'm not saying it's a better match. I like it more. It has some fantastic near falls. It's
I'm
very
trying to
good.
think of so because I always feel like Sheeta had the match with didn't Sheeta have a good match with Britt Baker at some point? Because the
I
match
think she did.
I remember with Britt Baker is Thunder Rosa. That's the lights out match. That's also the other AEW women's match that pre-Mercedes everybody remembers.
Sheeta has the first match with Mercedes is a TV match. It was very good. I like it a lot. The second match was produced so poorly that the guy who produced it got fired. So
Yeah. I don't I know there's the stigma out there that Tony doesn't book Joshi women well because not she Mina has been booked terribly and then the other woman who I saw fight Mercedes I can't think of her name.
Riho,
No,
Riho.
not that one. The other one. The one at the NJPW show.
Oh, Momo. Momo doesn't
Momo.
work for Tony though.
Right. So Momo and Rio, like it's weird for me because I don't like when I look at Sheeta, she's a wrestler. I don't feel like if Io went to AEW, Io's Io now, but I feel like they wouldn't make like Io wouldn't be the star in AEW that she is in WWE. Like that's I guess that's where I'm going with this. Like I think Kyrie, I know Kyrie's singles wins and all that are bad, but like in NXT, I thought Kyrie was booked okay, like pretty good, not great, but good. And I thought she had a great feud with Shayna. And for all of the criticism, the Kabuki Warriors might be the best, most decorated women's team of all time, right? Like they could be that. They probably are that actually. And then I think Asuka is the blueprint of how you book a Joshi women in America. And I think Io is like the new blueprint. Like I think Io has taken what they
Yeah.
did with Asuka to the next level. But with Sheeta, I will say this. He's very consistent in her booking, which is she's never been like a jobber to me. She's always been like in the mix of something. Like she's always been something on
If
TV.
he
Like
doesn't have
never
wins for
been,
her, he takes her off TV,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is not
To me,
necessarily great either, but
I think
gets
I
some
think
visa stuff. And
I think the Kyrie thing is a good segue, but I really, really so let's talk about Redemption. So Redemption is happening this Sunday, Montreal.
yep.
We have, I think, two women's matches.
Two right now. I could see Divine Dominion. I would guess that either Divine Dominion gets another match on that card. For those wondering why not do this match that's happening tomorrow on that card? Julia Hart's got to be in Japan for the G5, so
Mhm.
she won't be around for Redemption. I don't think. Um, or Mercedes could always get thrown on the card. But right now, officially, we have Hikaru Shida versus Maya World for the TBS title. Shida beat Queen Aminata, was beating her up with a kendo stick afterwards. Maya came out for the save. They made the match. So there's not really a long story there. And then, of course, you've got Tekla versus Willow for the AEW Women's Championship. Willow won this opportunity by winning the women's gauntlet match. Um, so Sheeta Maya World, who I said I think Sheeta wins. Who do you think wins?
You think Maya's winning the title?
Okay.
I do. I think Maya World's winning the title. Now let's get to the big one.
Yeah,
This is a hard match to pick.
it really is.
Willow Thekla. So when I look at, I'm going to pull up the betting odds here. And let me read it. Ah, ha, ha. I am so glad I got the betting odds after you picked. So, would you like to know the betting odds for the TBS title match?
Sure, go for it.
Maya World is a minus 150 and Sheeta is plus 160.
That's essentially a top toss up in wrestling.
It is, but Maya World's the favorite.
That's true.
All right. Well, speaking of toss-ups, let's go to the World Championship match. Thekla defending her title against Willow Nightingale. You want to guess the odds on this one?
Willow's got to be the favorite.
She's not. She's the underdog.
Really?
Yeah, Thekla is minus 175. Willow is plus 125.
So I thought about this. You brought up a good point. As much as we complain about NWA booking that Tony kind of grew up with, he does not like unsatisfying finishes on major shows, correct?
Yep.
So if he has a screwy finish on this for a three-way, it's because he really believes in the three-way. He would only do it because he really has a vision for the three-way.
Yep.
If not, he's going to pick a winner. And I don't know why you bring Willow back with all these vignettes for a 2 week feud with Tekla to just lose and just be out of the picture. That seems weird to me. You didn't have to bring her back, right? What does she do at All In if she loses? Whereas Tekla, you could say, what does she do at All In if she loses? Her, Sky Blue, and
Julia Hart.
Julia just won the trios titles in Stardom.
Yep.
So presumably you could have Starlight or who Kyrie Sane is part of one. Kyrie Hojo is
Mhm.
part of one of the greatest trio teams of all time. Correct.
Yeah.
That could be the all in play. When does Stardom get their lick back is the question there, right? So we've got who would be wrestling Mercedes as part of this. Also, what's happening with the Stardom feud is part of this. So I went first on the TBS match. You, sir, I'm gonna let you go first on the title match.
So I have been thinking long and hard about this one, and I'm gonna pick a winner, but I'm gonna tell you my actual prediction, which is kind of a cop out. I, okay, my prediction on this match is I still am believing in the three-way at London. I think it's a double pin. I think they're gonna do a double pin. Like it's some screwy Kendall Gray, Lola Vice double finish, and they both get the three-way match. But if I have to pick, which is what you're asking me to do, I am picking Willow Nightingale to beat Thekla to win the title simply because you just said it. There is a story for Thekla and a match at All In, which I'm going to say is this. If the rumors are true that Kyrie is coming in, I think the singles match at All In is just Kyrie Thekla. And Kyrie is carrying the Stardom flag as, in my opinion, she's one of the three greatest Stardom women's wrestlers of all time. Who's the greatest? Well, that one's obvious. It's Io. Who's number two? Well, that's obvious too. It's Mayu Iwatani. But you can't get Io and you can't get Mayu. So you can only get Kyrie. So you have to have somebody who carries the Stardom flag. And I think Thekla needs to get her comeuppance. She needs to get beat up. She needs to lose clean. So my prediction is Willow Nightingale is your new women's world champion, and Kairi Sane costs Thekla the title. That's my prediction.
I like that because Tekla has rubbed Stardom's nose in the dirt. It's like six straight times at this point, right? Like she's gotten the upper hand over and over and over again. Here's a bold prediction. If Mercedes is not interfering in the title match, I think she'll end up having a match on the card. I think most people would bet that Mercedes is more likely to interfere in the match than Kyrie, but also how exciting would it be if Kyrie shows up? And when you say interfere, all that has to happen is she comes out on stage and Tekla would probably get distracted and then get, Babe with the Power bombed. So I I'm going strongly feel that Willow wins the match. Like I'm more confident that Willow wins than I am that Cheetah wins. I just don't see why you bring Willow back. You could have, if you wanted a good match for Aminata at Redemption, or not for Tekla at Redemption, she could have beat. She could have Aminata. They had three matches last year that were fantastic. If you just needed a W on the show, so I'm gonna go Willow. I don't know. That's probably Tony booking the best all-in match in his mind because if it's Willow Mercedes, it really is a toss-up. I think the odds would be like 50-50 on that because it's like, do you give Willow a 30-day title reign? Do you give Mercedes a third loss and a second Owen Hart failure? Like, I think that would have it feel. And if the crowd has no idea who's going to win, all the near falls and all that all work better, right? So that could be the best match. They already have an all. They have. I feel like Willow and Mercedes have like several matches that are just a step below all-time classic territory, and they just like we knew Mercedes was losing on New Year's Eve,
Yeah.
and we knew Mercedes was winning at Double or Nothing. But I
Mhm.
think if they have the match they're capable of when we have no clue what the hell's going to happen, that's where you get, an all-time classic.
I think if Willow wins the title, which is what we're both predicting, I think Mercedes beats her at All In, but Willow chases her and Willow will win the title back. And that's really the simple story because Tony Khan is a product of the NWA Dusty Rhodes 80s wrestling booking, and baby faces losing belts in 30 days happened all the time on NWA. Like Ronnie Garvin won the title, lost it 13 days. Kerry Von Erich won it, lost it in 21 days. Like it happens. And I think Mercedes needs to win the big belt. Like I think if Mercedes loses it All In, I would have to seriously question what direction they're going with her character because
At
it
that
just doesn't
point,
make
would
sense.
would would we be reporting that Pam and Mercedes are going into free agency together to figure it out? You know what I mean? Like
No,
at that point,
I
no, it's a
yeah,
joke. It's a
yeah.
joke. But
I would agree. Yes, I think the reason I if Mercedes loses, it tells me that she's already re-signed and that she's confident in the direction and she's like, yeah, I'll get the belt when I get the belt. Like I don't think she
on a
cares.
baby face push, right?
Yeah,
Like
like I don't
like
I don't think she cares, but those are my predictions and I really want to implore Tony. I want to congratulate him and applaud him for all the work he's done with the women over the last 2 to 3 months. It's been really good stuff. But I really need this Divine Dominion Mercedes Monet. I call them the High Society. They took one of my names that I wanted to name them, the Queendom. So I guess they call themselves the Queendom. I truly believe this has the opportunity to be the greatest women's faction of all time. I think it also has the potential to be one of the biggest drawing women's factions of all time if it is positioned and pushed and produced correctly. I really, in my mind, I am seeing Million Dollar Man vignettes of these three women going to stores and buying out all the jewelry and throwing their money around and beating people up at bars or whatever. Like, I want to see vignettes. I don't care if it's a reality TV show with these three women. I am so enamored with the three of them as a trio that I want to see this thing go all the way. And the booking idea I have is I what they wanted to do with Lex Luger in the Four Horsemen, which is Lex is the muscle, he's the good-looking, young guy. He eventually beats Ric Flair. He never did. He never beat Ric Flair because they just thought he wasn't ready. He I want to see Megan Bain be Lex Luger in this story. And I want
but
to see
actually win.
yes, my I want the Batista Triple H story out of this. Like I want, Megan Bain has to make a decision and does thumbs down and then puts Mercedes through like four tables and steps on her. Like I
Yeah,
think
you're
the potential for greatness. I haven't been this excited about a trio since Damage Control when in Nashville, Tennessee, Bayley came out, Io came out, Dakota Kai came out. I was like, oh, and for the next 4 months, like you have eloquently said, they were Bianca Belair's punching bag and they got beat up and they were jobbers. But I don't look at these three women that way. I think these three women need to beat the entire roster up over, like, they need to be the NWO. Like, they need to literally beat everybody up to me. And that's what I hope.
I, I could talk. We could do a whole other 2 hours about how much potential I think this trio has. Um, Mercedes is operating with a swagger right now that I think I've only seen. So to me, the three times I could remember in her career where she was working at just her smoothest, where she was like her character, her wrestling, her direction all felt like effortless. Um, 2015, yes, but there was still a little bit of that like unconfident woman who hadn't done it all yet that existed there, which actually made her even more easy to root for back then. But 2021 post WrestleMania 37, when she had that Bianca feud that we didn't get the match for at SummerSlam, the vignettes, the run ins, the outfits, the swagger, was the most confident I've ever seen her, and she was at her best. Then we got her again in 2023 on the NJPW run, kind of on the babyface side of things, where she was her very, very best self, just owned the whole arena. Since she's been back, I think she's those two characters. Like, I think she's peaking as a character within her wrestling, also peaking.
Yeah, I
Um,
think this is the best this is the most interested I've been in her since she got to AEW. I've said this on the show many times. I've never really liked the AEW character. I think it's just a derivative of Sasha Banks in different elements. But what I saw with the way she swings the belt and changing her Twitter name and, those things, that's what I need. I need an edge to this character.
so here's what I love about the swinging the belt. So people hate the CEO dance or they love the CEO dance. I think the CEO dance was very effective. She had men's wrestlers doing it and all that. But here's what we do know about the CEO dance. She came up with it at home or in the locker. She came up with it. It was purposeful. She went viral with this belt swinging thing, and it was in the moment. It wasn't rehearsed. She didn't go out there going, and then after I'm going to swing the belt like it's my. She just sees the way Megan and Lena put their belts in front of them like that, and she wanted to have some fun with it. She did it. The clip goes viral. AEW's tweeted it or posted it like 7 times. She changed her Twitter name to Big D Moné. She's having fun with it. And it was a little bit Hulk Hogan with the guitar riff, right?
Exactly what it was. Yeah.
But she wasn't trying to do that, and that's why it works. She wasn't trying to have a moment, but she did. And I think that that's why she's finally locked in as a character that AEW fans are fully going to resonate with because she's not trying to win them over. She's just kicking ass. She's just awesome and she knows it. And it was singing through the TV the last couple times she's been out there.
So before we get to our top five, last thoughts. What did you think of her promo in Boston?
I loved it. I thought again, it harkens back to me the summer of Bianca, summer of Sasha and Bianca, when they were kind of outdrawing Roman and John Cena. For those that don't recall, it's very confident on the mic, didn't feel scripted. I don't think Jen Pepperman wrote that promo, and I love the line. I don't care who goes into All In as champion. I know who's leaving All In as champion. That's a great line.
Baby is a babyface promo. She's a
Yeah.
babyface in that building because it's that city. She's gonna get cheered. So she cut like a edgy babyface promo where she's like, I don't care, one person with the fake hug and then the poison and all that stuff, like or toxic, sorry, the way she did the toxic thing. Mercedes is like to me, she can be an effective promo. I wouldn't necessarily, but this one was maybe the best promo she's done in AEW. I think the three that stick out to me, um, actually there's four. I lied. Number one, her debut. I thought that was really good. The big business promo.
Oh yeah.
Number two,
Her
I
best long form promo ever. Yeah.
I liked the sit down with Jamie Hayter.
It's great.
That was really good. Number three, we saw it in El Paso. That has to be on the list. And I think this is number four. And I think that what I like that I've seen over these last couple of weeks is they're flushing out the Mercedes Moné character, and she's becoming something different than things that she's done in the past. And the promo, what I liked about the promo is I don't really care who has the belt. I'm taking it. And I think for that crowd, she's a babyface. It was good. I thought it was really good promo. I think it was one of her best promos. I always think people always ask me what's my favorite Mercedes Moné promo, and I don't know if it's even considered a promo, but the best one she's ever done, in my opinion, is the one with John Morrison at the Talking Smack desk, where she kind of turned the microphone this way and said, "Because I am a star." I
Yeah.
am on the posters. That to me was the peak Mercedes Sasha Banks promo. This is in that realm. It was really, really good work. So we have
Let me just add something real quick. I still maintain that Boston and with a close second, United Kingdom, she's going to be 50-50 with, if it's her and Willow, she's going to be 50-50. If it's her and Tekla, she's going to like she'll be one of the biggest baby faces on the card if it's her and Tekla. Cuz Tekla's a very effective heel and Mercedes will naturally, the UK crowd freaking loves her. I went back and watched her last Rev Pro match and her Rio her last two Rev Pro matches. I know that that's a crowd of 3,000 people, and All In might end up getting to 50,000 people again. So I know it's just a subset, but I just think that European fans, AEW fans, it's all coming together, and I think she's going to be very, very well. That's the place to give her the moment. You're going to have 40 to 45,000 people in that crowd ready to see her hold the belt up. You have to do it there. You have to.
since she's been in AEW, what are the two pay-per-views you think she was the least over on?
Um, I
So I
know the
saw
answer to,
I
yeah,
saw the one,
Toronto,
right? What's
Toronto.
the other one?
I rewatched the Momo match that was in LA. That one was good.
No, it's not that one.
Um,
You know what it
huh?
is. You know what it is. Think about it.
Is it the All In the Brit one?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I that was also there's a lot that went wrong with that one, but yeah, I was on the worst spot on the card. The feud got cold. The match ended up not being good. So yeah,
well, I
yeah.
think that she's come a long way in the United Kingdom. She, by the way, take AEW out of it. In her WWE time, she was always very over in the United Kingdom. She's had matches with Charlotte there, and they tore the house down. But the one that's very famous was the Survivor Series. If you remember, there was a segment where Charlotte was the captain of Raw, and it was Charlotte had to get the fifth member, and she said it's Dana Brooke, and the crowd booed, right? And she goes, the number Dana Brooke, and then Bayley was like not happy because she thought it was going to be, and then Michael Cole's like, no, 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 that's not the fifth member. And then it was Sasha Banks, and then the crowd went crazy for her in England, and then they did the Bayley song and everything like that. So Sasha
Love that segment.
has always been very over in the United Kingdom. I think the Brit match is a blip because I think the match is why it wasn't over. Like, I don't think it's her as her character. I just think that match just wasn't good. Now, I know revisionist crew history is like, oh, it's not that. No, the match wasn't good. We got to move on from it. It was not good. But I will say this, since that match, I could argue she's been on the best run of her career because
Hmm.
then she had the Momo match, which I saw, and then she's been kind of on fire since. So maybe sometimes you need a bad match to turn things around. I will say this, I am looking forward to whoever she fights it all in. I'd be surprised if it's 50-50 versus Willow because I think Willow, you can make a case, is just as effective as a babyface as Thekla is as a heel. But she is loved in England. But don't you think Willow would get more support because she's Willow?
I just think that Let's Go Willow CEO chants will be really loud, and that's great because it will be a great atmosphere. Um, all right, top five.
Top five.
Our top five this week is brought to you by Old Glory. As always, Old Glory offers over 300,000 items for music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, featuring officially licensed merch from iconic bands and top sports teams. Discover your perfect gear and save with our exclusive discount BS Women at oldglory.com. That gets you 15% off of any product. Again, I've loaded up on couple new Detroit Lions shirts. We are getting close to football season, and I was able to hook up uh, my wife with the Los Angeles Rams shirt because she's a Rams fan. So oldglory.com. Top five this week in honor of Lyra Valkyria's heel turn on Bayley. We are doing the top five women's heel turns ever. and I think this is a fun category. Um, I think there's some very obvious ones, but we haven't really talked about it. So what do you want to talk about? As Cody would say. So I'm going to give you the floor.
All right. This was a good list. It was a hard list to rank. I had my five. So when
Yeah.
I thought of the topic, I had my five. It was just which order I was going to put the five in. But I have an honorable mention. And so here's what I will say. I think the my rankings are going to reflect this one statement: predictability. I love some of these heel turns, but some of them were so predictable, so they get a little knock on my ranking. So number six, or the honorable mention. Well, I have two honorable mentions. The first one is Trish Stratus. When she turned heel on Chris Jericho, WrestleMania 20, there was the whole, Christian and Chris Jericho were betting the Canadian loonie on, Trish. And Trish came out. She had the army jacket. She gave me that 1994 Nas vibe with the army jacket, or sorry, with the bomber jacket, the camel pants, the heel, the high heels, and she just clocked Jericho and turned heel. But what it spawned is Trish Stratus actually might be one of the great heel champions of all time for the women. She was unbelievable as a heel champion. I mean, she was just tremendous. So that's an honorable mention. My other one is Nikki Bella. And, I know the Nikki Bella one was semi-telegraphed, but when she turned heel, it was spectacular. The Bellas are standing over Stephanie
Hmm.
McMahon. She moved Stephanie out of the way, clocked Brie. Crowd lost its mind. And it went on to spawn one of the great heel characters of all time in Nikki Bella, who is a phenomenal heel. So Nikki Bella, Trish Stratus are my honorable mentions. My number five, I didn't think anybody would think I wouldn't put this person on my list. Number five, June 26, 2019, Io Sky. She lost the match and she turned on Kairi Sane. And that was the first heel turn that we saw the Io Shirai of Japan. She was plucky Io, lost to Tony Storm in the Mae Young Classic, wasn't really moving the needle. She's a great worker, kind of a mechanic. She turned heel on Kairi Sane. The next week, she came out with the black leather pants, the rock star, entrance, the way she does that now, which she still
Yeah.
does to this day. Number five, best heel turn of all time, Io Shirai.
I had Trish as an honorable mention, so I'm going to take the opportunity instead of talking about that. I kind of the older ones, just because the wrestling wasn't as important. I couldn't get them into the five, but the ones I remember, Stephanie McMahon, obviously with Test. I was a teenager when that one happened, and looking back, this heel turn is one of the worst ever, and it's one of the worst ideas ever, and it's one of the worst executed heel turns ever, but one of the most beloved women on the balance sheet is Miss Elizabeth. And my heart was broken when she turned heel, when she went to NWO.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't good. And I'm not saying it was good. I'm not even saying it was a good turn, but just how much like we loved Miss Elizabeth growing up. It was like it sucked. It wasn't fun. So my number five is going to be controversial. I think you have it probably higher than I do. Obviously, I think you have it on your list. I don't. It makes the list because it's a moment that matters. It matters a lot. But the person didn't really turn heel. So I have Becky Lynch at SummerSlam turning on Charlotte Flair. If you don't remember, because WWE can't get out of their own way, and we gloss over this a lot, they tried so hard to make Becky the bad guy. We got we got crappy you people promos. You people. you people, she kept saying you people. Um, she was the bad guy last woman. They just tried really, really hard to make it her fault, and no one was buying it. They didn't want, no one wanted to cheer for Charlotte at that time. But it was the marker of the man existing and Becky not taking shit from anyone anymore. And so it's important. It just wasn't a heel turn because she didn't go heel, right? We loved her more after it happened, actually. But it's meant to be a heel turn. And then my number four, um, which would rank higher, but it didn't win the match, is Dakota Kai. The moment, if you just watch the clip, it's great. It could be number one. I think I've seen some lists where it's number one, but they didn't win the match. You know what I mean? Like it was in a
It was
not a
War Game. It's
war
War Game
games. Yeah, and that was like the debut of Rhea won that match, right?
by herself.
By herself. And if you look at the bad guy team, they were loaded. They had a good guy turn heel in the match, and the good guy still won. So Triple H booked that. So if you wonder that Triple H can book some stupid shit, it's been going back a long time. But that Dakota Kai heel turn in the moment is spectacular. But it had, for it to really matter, it had to win the match. The floor is yours.
Okay. Before I get to my number four, Miss Elizabeth did turn heel, but it wasn't with the NWO. So you're missing a part of the story. Macho Man came to WCW.
Right.
Ric Flair was spending all this money and he was buying the bar. And it was Miss Elizabeth who got Macho's money in the divorce. And she was giving Ric Flair the money. And that was the storyline. And the
Right.
that this is important is historically everybody thinks when Scott Hall showed up on Nitro that that's when WCW turned a corner. The truth of the matter is Macho Man and Ric Flair actually turned the company around with their feud. Hogan was flopping in WCW. He was a flop. But Macho Man and Ric Flair were drawing big houses on their house show main events. That feud actually sparked WCW. But Miss Elizabeth turned heel prior to even the NWO heel turn. She turned heel spending Macho Man's money for Ric Flair. So,
Yeah. That was a continuation of the fake
yes,
feud in WWE where
yes,
Ric Flair made it look like Miss Elizabeth was cheating on
yeah,
Macho Man, but she really wasn't. So go
yeah,
ahead.
it was. My number four is probably one that you're definitely gonna have higher. In fact, I'm almost gonna bet is Bayley.
Hmm.
No, Bayley's heel turn was on a Monday Night Raw where it was like a brawl. It was Becky, it was Sasha, it was Bayley, and I don't even know who the it was. It might have been Charlotte. Probably was Charlotte. Was it Charlotte?
Think so, yeah.
And Sasha's about to hit Becky with the chair. She just returned and she pulled a chair from Sasha. She looks away and then starts to whack Becky with the chair like 50 times. And the crowd,
The smirk is great. Yeah.
and then Sasha was sitting back in the corner like a maestro, like, yeah, finally I've influenced you. Again, Bayley was super over in the moment. The crowd was going bonkers for her. They went nuts for her heel turn. If you go back and watch the clip, which I'm sure you have, they were cheering. They were going, yes, 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 when she beat up Becky. But it was a well executed heel turn, and it ended up being the beginning of what I think, in my opinion, is the best WWE women's storyline of all time, along with Trish and Mickey James, where it's the beginning of the Bayley character not needing Sasha or thinking she doesn't need Sasha and becoming herself, and then they ended up having their feud. So it was great. That was my number four. My number three. Now let me make the controversy start. Hometown, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Somebody on this podcast had a ticket to this night and gave it away. And I knew she was coming back this night. I actually reported it before it became a thing to report. So Sasha Banks, blue hair, spectacular heel turn. Spectacular. One of the all-time great ones. The only reason is its number three is predictability. It was the most obvious heel turn of all time. She's strutting. She's had the terrible wig on that looked like it was going to fall off. And she gets into the ring, and it was like, this is so wrestling 101. I'm like, oh, she's turning heel. Okay. And how is she going to do it? So she did it in a spectacular manner, went viral. It was great, but it was predictable. Like I saw it coming 500 miles away. So for that only reason, it is number three. Sasha Banks, 2019, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And isn't it ironic that Bayley, Io, and Sasha all turned heel in 2019?
They did. Yeah, so I did have tickets to that, and we weren't quite friends yet in a way where we were talking, and you would have been able to give me the heads up. And um, I not only did I have tickets, but I had a Tuesday flight that I changed to a Monday flight, so I missed that show. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Obviously, I have it on my list. So my number three was your number four. I have the Bayley heel turn. All I wanted to say about it was you nailed it, actually. It is just like the Becky one is a marker on the man story. This is the marker on the Golden Role Model story. And I think the Golden Role Model story was better for the entirety of the division than the man story was. The man story was singularly the best women's story, like the best women's run is very arguably is probably that one. But as far as division health, the Golden Role Model story was incredible. You had great tag team wrestling. Asuka had a great run fighting them. Sasha, Bayley, it was all very good. So um, I'll just never forget the messy bun, which I have a Shih Tzu. Me and Raj have five Shih Tzus between us. I have two, he has three. He's got a Sasha. I have a Charlotte. Mine is not named after Charlotte. His is named after Sasha. My
Ooh,
Charlotte has a long Shih Tzu ponytail and it turns into a messy bun. And even my wife, who does not like wrestling, calls it her Bailey bun because it looks like Bailey after she's had a good match. And Bailey had the messy sideways bun going on that's up in the air and then the smirk and then hits her. So I love that one. My number two is the turning point for the greatest North American non WWE women's feud of all time. Mariah May winning the Owen Hart tournament and then turning heel and brutalizing Tony Storm with the bloody heel. And um, I actually think that this is I went and rewatched it. This is some of the best camera work done by we usually say that WWE, one of the reasons why they're ahead of AEW is they have a better production. They put a lot more money into production. And Tony Khan prefers that more kind of dark lit WCW NWA style, right? This was produced very, very well. They obviously put a lot of thought and effort into it, not just what was going to happen, but the camera shots they got of the shoe, of Tony with the blood. Mariah, now known as Blake Monroe, was fantastic. It's just as picture perfect as of a heel turn as you can do.
okay. So, it wasn't even an honorable mention of mine, but obviously the Dakota Kai one is very memorable. The reason it did not make my list is A, it didn't really do anything for Dakota Kai.
It did
Like,
not.
I mean, she didn't become like a big star out of it. And number two, I mean, you said it, Rhea Ripley still won the match, basically handicapped. So on a team with Io, and Bianca
Bianca. Yeah,
and Shayna, they couldn't beat Rhea by herself, right?
right.
And it's funny, right? Because we always talk about Io. Rhea's never beaten Io. Well, she kind of did at War Games, right? Even though it doesn't count, she has beaten Io, like even though she didn't pin her. But yeah, so the Dakota Kai didn't even make my honorable mention because to me, in order to be an all-time heel turn, a payoff had to happen, a story had to come of it, and nothing really came out of Dakota Kai, and that's more on the booking than her. But she was spectacular in the turn. My number two is your number five, which I was shocked that it was so low, but I almost died. This is a true story. This is a true story. So in where I live, El Paso, Texas, whether it was my ex-wife or now me, we've always been kind of blessed to have a suite at the Chihuahuas game, which is our minor league baseball team. They're the affiliates of the San Diego Padres. This one day, we decided not to do the suite thing and do the area where it's right in the outfield, where, if you can really hit a home run into the upper deck, or a foul ball, that's where it would land. It's by where there's a concession stand and there's a burger stand, whatever. Okay. So this is the night of SummerSlam, that SummerSlam. And I'm on my phone like this, watching intently Charlotte, Carmella, Becky. And I'm like, and then Becky does the turn and a foul ball. This is a true story. My hamburger was right beside me. The foul ball hit my hamburger, put a hole through the center of it, bounced up, hit my head a little bit, like grazed it, and then flew back to the point where EMTs and everybody came. And they were like, "Are you okay, sir? Oh my God." And I'm like, "I want to watch this. I want to see what Becky's doing." And this is like, you can't rewind it and do all that stuff you can do now. It was like the WWE network on your phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And it's because I was so into Becky doing the heel turn. And yes, you are correct. Technically, it is not a heel turn because she didn't not only not get booed, she became the most over person in wrestling because
She was
of
my second favorite wrestler in the world at the time, and I was like, she's not the bad guy. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Well, and to be fair, when she turned heel, I thought she was the only thing good about wrestling for a while. Like
yeah.
I didn't think there was anything else good about it, and she was awesome, and she's amazing, and she was magnificent. But she was not a heel, but she was supposed to be the heel, right? Like it is technically a heel turn, but in theory, it isn't. So the turn was spectacular. She hugs her, smacks her, beats her to a pulp. The crowd's going crazy. Spectacular. That was my number two. And my number one, you just said it. There's never been anything better than what Mariah May did to Toni Storm, ever. She walked up the ramp like she's, happy that Toni Storm's happy, and she just beat her to a pulp. Hit her with the belt. It's so brutal, but I laugh every time I watch it. It's like the greatest thing to me. And then Luther comes and she just throws him over. I look, I don't know what WWE is doing with Blake Monroe, but Mariah May, spectacular. Spectacular heel turn.
Yeah.
Spectacular theater. And Toni Storm, I mean, nobody's going to take a blade like Toni Storm. And she was bloody. And Tony Schiavone's losing. Oh my God, stop it. You're going to kill her. Great. Best heel turn ever. I kind of knew Mariah May was going to turn heel, but the way she did it was so great that you could make a case that Mariah May Tony Storm is actually the greatest women's feud of all time. It has
You
a
can.
place. Golden Role Models, Trish Mickey James. I damage control. Bayley kind of got hot, but there was so much misses there.
Not enough matches.
Naomi, we never got the payoff for Naomi Bianca. That's what sucks, right? Because they're to me that was the match, like Naomi Bianca.
Yeah.
Um, but again, Mariah May, spectacular, spectacular. That's my number one, and I know what your number one is. So
Yeah, and I kind of, so it is a kind of like I didn't want to have Sasha on the list more than once, but her heel turn against Bianca is actually spectacular too. But so it's a, kind of like a career achievement that I put her in number one. But it is the heel turn with Natty and Becky that I have as my number one. Couple reasons why. Since 2019, when this happened in Toronto, from 2019 to today, she's been the best or second best wrestler in the world pretty much every year since then. And she wasn't in 2017 and 2018 because she wasn't booked nearly well enough to do that. But she's been, except for when injured, she's been top one, top two. And so it reset the universe on the path that we all believed it should be on. Number two, if you're a fan of hers, you knew immediately that we were back in business when she follows Becky to the outside and she hits Becky with one of the most beautiful forearms that you could ever throw in wrestling. And it's exactly the type of snug where Becky doesn't actually get hit, but she gets hit, and she falls on her ass, and you're like, oh, I remember watching it going, business has truly picked up. Like we're back. The chair shots also were pretty brutal. Um, the reason I have it at number one, though, is did you know Sasha Banks is a pretty high value IP, correct?
yeah,
The clip of her heel turn is the number one most viewed Sasha Banks clip in the history of. So it's the number one most viewed piece of media in Mercedes' career, either as Mercedes Moné or Sasha Banks, not counting the 3 seconds she did the splits at the Royal Rumble. I'm talking full videos. Um, it is the number one. To this day, just on the WWE channel, it had 18 million views. They took it down. It has 12 million views the second time posted. So it's her number one viewed piece of media. The wig reveal always gets everyone.
I mean the other easy sell to have that as number one, and again, the only reason it isn't my number one is because it was so predictable. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes predictable is good. The other real feather in her cap is she swung a monster rating out of that segment. Like literally, people have to understand that segment came at like the third hour. It wasn't like that segment was hour one because if you remember the old Monday Night Raw pre-Netflix, hour one is peak, hour two is this, hour three is a low number.
It was at 9 o'clock Central.
Yeah.
My flight landed at 7:45. I set my suitcase down, and while I was on the plane, that's when I probably people you told started to make its way to me. Hey, make sure you watch Raw. Sasha might be on, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I turned it on as Natty was coming out at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, no, it's 650,000 viewers turned, their dial to watch this because it was the highest rated segment on that show and it was in hour three. So again, I know that I wasn't the only person who knew that this was going to happen because again, I've told this story, I will tell it again. The original plan was she was supposed to return at SummerSlam. Becky beats Natty, goes and shakes Natty's hand. Becky leaves. Mercedes, Sasha Banks music comes out to say, "Hey, Natty, you did this for your dad," and then beat her up. And then Becky comes out, and then Becky gets beat up in the Toronto crowd. It was nixed because they didn't want it to outshine Goldberg, who had the match
Mm.
right after against Dolph Ziggler. So they saved it for Monday Night Raw. But that whole shtick was supposed to happen on SummerSlam. And the only reason I knew my reporting, who again, it was a group chat, it wasn't like a big report, it was right, is the Sunday night after the SummerSlam pay-per-view that sadly you attended, which wasn't a good SummerSlam show. It was actually one of the worst SummerSlams, if I can remember.
It's bad.
Uncle Dave and Brian. they were talking about the Becky match, and Dave's like, "Well, Becky's next opponent was supposed to return tonight, but she didn't. Interesting." And I'm like, "Oh, so he knows too." And so I knew at that point she's coming back on Raw. And I stuck to my guns. I said she's at Trish Stratus's house. I did report that that's where she was hiding out. That whole documentary thing was fraud, where that she was in Buffalo and they brought her over. They don't do that because at the time I still know somebody who works customs, and that's how I got the tip. So everybody wants to know how I got the tip. It wasn't my source who worked at WWE. It was actually somebody at customs in Canada who told me she crossed the border, and that's how I knew she was there.
And she
So
didn't cross in Buffalo. She came in
she
at the airport.
came in. Yep, she came in, and it was one of those things where she came in at like a time where nobody's at the. It's not like a time where people are like, oh, crowded or whatever. It's like she came in, she had like whatever the check-in is, the pre-check. She cleared, and she was in town. And I was told she. And then my source confirmed after that she was at Trisha's house or hiding out, at Trisha's house. But the reason that the documentary is fraud is because how could that be accurate if she was in the building, if she was going to return at SummerSlam? She'd have to be in Toronto, right? That was
Right.
changed last minute. So again, spectacular lists. I think both of us nailed it. I mean, we basically got this. The only difference is I had EO and you had which one?
Dakota.
Dakota. You had Dakota. Okay. But again, the only reason I didn't put Dakota is because I don't, what did it lead to? EO, you could argue that was the launching point to being the biggest Japanese star in the history of the WWE.
I think the two we missed, just because one, the execution's not great. If people don't remember, but it did launch, who we know today. Rhea Ripley turned heel
Yes.
on
Sunday
Liv
morning.
after a Naomi Sasha Banks match.
Yep.
But it was so it was so overdue at the time. But obviously, like things have gone great for Rhea since then. And then Naomi, it was hard to really. I didn't feel like she turned heel as much as we just got a fantastic segment, right? That was more of like there was no physicality. She just called Bianca a bitch, and then we got a new character. So it didn't.
But the thing about Naomi's heel turn is the best stuff she was doing was after that segment where that when she went to Bianca's house
Yeah,
and said, "Hey, your mom's in a wheelchair. Don't make me put you in one." Like Naomi got so good at the heel shtick that she was spectacular. But if we saw Naomi do the car damage to Jade, that would have made the list. But we never saw it. It was just Jade was laid out, and we and again, I truly believe this that we predicted that it was Naomi months before they actually told us it was Naomi. And I always wondered, did they listen to our show and then change course somewhere? Because remember, it was a long time before it got revealed. And
we
it's
said it that week. It had to be Naomi because we both did believe that. Remember, she came back from TNA. She was fantastic in TNA, and she kind of sputtered for the first
she
several
was
months.
not known.
Great, great, great comeback at the Rumble, but she didn't have a lot going on. So that was a
Yeah,
fun list. Same time next week, we will have redemption results. Hopefully, we'll have a match or two on Raw to talk about.
yeah.
It's really a bummer to move the show to post Raw to have something ideally positive to talk about, and we had nothing even to cover
No.
from WWE. But appreciate everyone continuing to listen. Um, the rest of summer is going to be fun. I think Liv and Io are going to lock in. Mercedes is going to have got a great match coming up. AEW's firing on all cylinders.
Ladder
Hopefully
match.
WWE gets their head out of their ass.
Oh, just announced while we were on the air in 2 weeks, the trilogy. Kendall Gray
L-
defends her title against Lola Vice in an underground match.
17 stars.
Well, here's the thing. If Lola Vice loses her match, she's definitely going to the main roster. And if she is going to lose that match, she should win the SmackDown Women's title. She should win the ladder match. I'm calling it now. If
I'm here for it.
Damian Priest is on SmackDown, so they always put the couples on the same show. That's a
Yep.
WWE trick. And why not Lola Vice coming out and winning that title? That would be great. That would be good theater.
It, it would be fresh.
Oh, I just forgot. August 4th is after SummerSlam. So that can't happen.
Dang.
Unless they want her to win two belts, which I mean, they've done it with her in the past. But yeah, we will see you guys here next week, same time, same bat channel, Redemption, Raw, SmackDown, NXT. We will cover it all next week. Collision, Dynamite. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, everyone.